Welcome again, this is Vision of Asia and I'm your host Aditi Lamba. This entire week, the nation has faced a partial US government shutdown, a national issue that is now impacting 800,000 federal employees. In United States politics, a government shutdown occurs when Congress fails to pass sufficient appropriation bills or continuing resolutions to fund federal government operations and agencies, or when the president refuses to sign into law such bills or the resolution, and that is exactly the situation on hand. Tonight, beginning more discussion on the ongoing issue and its impact on South Asians, we have Amman Singh Seehra, an attorney, a non-profit executive, and a diversity inclusion expert. Currently, he works as a senior program specialist with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, currently impacted by the government partial shutdown, and has also been a huge advocate for Sikh American voices and their expressions with the nonprofit SALDEF and One Project. So just starting the interview, please give us an insight into what has exactly happened in the department and the impact of the shutdown on the 800,000 workers that we're talking about.
Sure. So for people who don't know, the government was shut down on December 22nd. Originally, the Senate had passed a measure to have a continuing resolution that would have went until February 8th so they can resolve their issues during that time frame. However, the president decided to shut down the government, which is going to be the third time in 2018 alone that the government has been shut down. But what that means is that federal employees cannot go back to work. That currently affects 800,000 federal workers. And something that some people may not know is that about 420,000 of those federal workers still have to go to work but are not getting paid. The other 380,000 employees are just not allowed to go to work, including myself. And federal employees believe in the mission of what they're doing. They want to go to work, and the shutdown is really having some real impact on these people. These are real people with real jobs and real responsibilities, such as paying their mortgage, their rent, trying to put food on the table for their families. And not only is it federal workers that are not being affected, but it also affects people outside of the federal government, such as janitorial staff, cafeteria staff,
right.
Any other support staff that isn't considered a federal worker. Particularly in the DC area, there's a lot of restaurants and other businesses that rely on federal workers to provide their business. Those are people that are not going to get any type of back pay, or they're just losing out on business and basically not having a way to make that up.
And we have you talking to us on a weekend that many, on national media are talking about how the 800,000 workers, the federal employees, will not get their paycheck this weekend. And that's a huge amount of stress. You work with so many people that are working in the department. You yourself have been impacted. What are the conversations that are happening amongst the people, the federal employees themselves? And if you could share with us or with the audience of ITV Gold of what it feels like to go through this right now, I'd really appreciate.
Yeah, so for us, we have a tight-knit community of federal workers. So we've been in contact with each other, and also with the help of our union, which is the American Federation for Government Employees, which has helped provide us with a lot of advocacy as well as advice of what to do during these times. So a lot of federal workers are going on unemployment benefits just to have some kind of income come in. Some of them are working with their banks with a promise that they'll eventually get back pay and able to pay back these essentially short-term loans.
Right.
But a lot of it is just that support, because a lot of these people are going through really tough times. They rely on this income just to have their household run, pay that mortgage, pay that rent, get food. But we're working together. I know a group of my fellow employees went down to a march in Philadelphia yesterday to kind of show their support, show that they believe that this shutdown needs to end. If people want to have discussions about the budget, pass a continuing resolution, and do that not while affecting federal workers and their families.
When we are talking about this, I would like to take this part of the interview to sort of get your personal view into exactly what should be the corrective measures right now. This shutdown is now on its 20th day. Yesterday, even on my news segment, I was talking about how now we're on the 19th day, and perhaps there were some conversations happening which didn't lead anywhere. What could be done in order to, one, stop this right now, get everybody working, and also how do you think this will impact once you are back at work after so many days?
So I think the first thing is that the Senate passed a measure, a funding measure that would have had a continuing resolution go until February That was introduced by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, approved by both Republicans and Democrats. I think that's one step that's already out there that can be taken so that this can be negotiated and they can work out their differences, not while affecting federal workers. And also right now it seems to be that a lot of people are focusing on the $5.6 billion in regards to the wall. But when you look back on the last time we had a long-term federal shutdown in 2013, that lasted, I think, was about 16 days. And the estimated effect to American taxpayers was close to $24 billion just from being shut down.
Wow.
So at this point, I think that we're affecting so many different people. Back in 2013, that shutdown stopped NIH clinical trials so that cancer patients couldn't go into these trials. Hundreds of students who wanted to go into the Head Start program were delayed for 9 days, and that's a program that's helped low-income families and children eventually reach higher graduation rates. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, couldn't do thousands of site visits, which enforce our environmental laws, including OSHA, which ensures workplace safety, couldn't do thousands of their inspections, making sure that workplaces are safe for Americans.
We'd sort of like to change topics and change gears a little bit and talk to you a little bit about your nonprofit work, which is a huge part of perhaps what you do currently, in the U.S. Department of Agriculture as well. You have been a huge part of SALDEF and other Sikh American organizations, and you have been a huge advocate for Sikh American voices. Where has this passion come from for you? And, talk to us a little bit about all of the work that you are currently involved with when it talks about Sikh American education, cultural awareness, and sort of integrating those parts into the community.
Sure. So for me, my Sikh identity was a big part of me growing up.
Yeah.
Having a turban in schools with just a handful of other Sikh students, you couldn't get by without someone saying, like, why do you wear that? And I think answering that thousands of times you realize that you're always an advocate for your faith, you're an advocate for your beliefs and your morals. I think I took a bigger step in that after 9/11. At the time I was in my first year of law school and I was actually considering going to medical school, and the day after 9/11, I could walk down the street, people started throwing rocks at me, throwing stuff at me. I'd walk into an elevator, everybody would walk out.
People threw rocks at you?
Yeah, you hear stuff on the streets all the time, people yelling, screaming, cases of road rage. There's just so many things going on, and it felt like, this is not right. I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I consider myself as American as I can get.
Right.
And realizing that Sikhs are part of that American fabric, I felt like I just need to act and do something about it. So I contacted SALDEF and began volunteering for them back in 2001. And it's been about 17 years, I believe, now that I've been volunteering for them, and we've expanded what we do, and they've done so much work for so many years.
Yeah.
Some of the programs that we focus on is our Sikh Lead program, which focuses on Sikh youth, getting them involved in politics, policy, also developing their leadership skills. We have another program called the Sikh Vote program, which focuses on getting Sikhs to be represented at the polls. We have a partnership with law enforcement where we do thousands of law enforcement trainings. We've also done trainings with the TSA and other federal organizations.
Right.
And a lot of other advocacy projects that we have lined up to make sure that the image of Sikhs and their understanding is better appreciated.